This is lecture number 4 from our online SEM training series. In this lecture, I'll explain you how to specify a structural model in Amos. For the purpose of this lecture, we'll be considering the following structural model. This structural model is taken from a study by Shimurli and Mayer on the effects of vice principal psychological empowerment on job satisfaction and burnout. In this structural model, it can be seen that there are three latent variables: empowerment, job satisfaction, and emotional exhaustion. The latent variable empowerment has got 4 indicator variables, whereas the latent variables emotional exhaustion and job satisfaction has got 3 indicators each. Now let's go ahead and specify this model in Amos. Before we go further and specify the structural model, let us first familiarize ourselves with the icons on the default toolbar. I would like to mention here that when I refer to objects, I mean the objects of a structural model. In other words, I am referring to the latent variables, the observed variables, the direct and correlational effects, and the error terms in the structural model. So this square box is used to represent the observed variables or the measured variables. So we can just select this icon and we can just drag and make a box. So this is our observed or the measured variable. Similarly, we can select the elliptical box. We can make a elliptical box to represent our unobserved or latent variables. In order to draw a measurement model, we can use this icon. In order to specify the direct effects, we can use the single-headed arrow. In order to specify the covariances, we can use the double-headed arrows. In order to add a unique variable to an existing variable, we can use this icon. In order to give title to our structural model, we can use the title icon. This icon will give you the list of variables in the model. This icon will give you the variables in the data set. This icon can be used to select objects one at a time. This icon can be used to select all the objects. This icon can be used to deselect the objects. We can use this icon to duplicate or copy the objects. In order to move the objects around, we can use the move icon and delete the objects using the erase button. If we want to resize the objects, we can use the resize button. If we want to rotate the object, we can use the rotate button. If we want to reverse the direction and alignment of indicators in a measurement model, we can use the reflect icon. If we want to reposition the path diagram on the screen, we can use this icon. We can use this icon to calculate the estimate. This icon is used to maintain the symmetry between the objects when we are making any modifications to the objects. So these are the main icons that we use frequently. I'll explain you the other icons from the toolbar when we are working on real-time SEM problems. So let's get started to develop our model. Okay, so to draw our first measurement model, empowerment, I'll select the measurement model icon and I'll go to my diagram window and I'll click once. I'll get the latent variable. Keeping this selected, I'll click once, so I get the first indicator. I click again, I get the second. I click again, I get the third. I click again, I get the fourth. Okay, so this is a latent variable which has got 4 indicators. Similarly, I'll draw a latent variable with 3 indicators. I click on the window by selecting the measurement model icon. I click once, I get the latent variable. I click once, I get the first indicator. I click again, I get the second indicator, and then I click the third time to get the third indicator. So now I can use the select icon. I can select all the objects of this measurement model, and using the copy duplicate objects, I can make a duplicate copy of this measurement model. Okay, so now we have specified 3 latent variables. Okay, using the rotate icon, I can rotate the measurement models. then using the move objects and preserving the symmetries, I'll first select the preserve symmetries icon and then I'll select the move objects. I can move the objects around the path window, around within the window. One thing to note here is that we need not worry if our model is it is important to note that we need not care about whether our measurement model or the structural model is going out of this window over here. Okay, so now I'll specify a direct effect between empowerment and job satisfaction, and empowerment and emotional exhaustion. I'll specify a direct effect between empowerment and job satisfaction, between empowerment and emotional exhaustion, and between empowerment and job satisfaction. Similarly, I'll specify a direct effect between job satisfaction and emotional exhaustion. Okay, now I'll label these variables. I go to this latent variable, I right click and select object properties. Here the variable name is empowerment. This variable is job emotional exhaustion. This variable is and then this variable over here is job satisfaction. So now I have specified my latent variables. I'll specify the indicators. So the first indicator is CO. I'll specify the second indicator ME. So using the object properties box, I can specify my indicators. I can label my indicators associated with empowerment latent variable. Similarly, I can go to emotional exhaustion and I can specify the variables. Lastly, I'll go and specify the indicators for job satisfaction. So I have specified my latent variables and the indicators associated with each of these latent variables. Then I have specified the direct effect between the measurement models. Okay, I can see that I am left with labeling of the error terms associated with the indicators. So either I can just go to the error term, right click and select object properties to label the error terms, or I can use the inbuilt plugin called name unobserved variables. Okay, so this will give me the variables. So this will automatically label the error terms as E1, E2 and so on. So this is the structural model that we discussed in the beginning of this lecture, and we have replicated this, or we have specified this model in Amos. In the next lecture we will go ahead and run our first SEM analysis. If you are looking for online SEM training or support, contact us at admin@pytutors.com.